I think we're live. Exactly. See, Ogerlo would have read my mind. Listen, if Hendrix was alive today, he would probably be playing a Vola Vasti. Listen, we can only speculate, but probably. Hold on, I'm getting an ad to run ads. How is it going? What a crazy week. I was actually back last Saturday, but I was too late to run not too late, but just too tired to do a show last week. You had 3 roll-ins, did you really? Oh, man. Yeah, they're angry. YouTube is mad that I'm not running more ads, but I don't like mid-rolls. You know, they take away from my content, you know. Yeah, buddy. And no Namthrax this time. No, I escaped without any illness, which was just fantastic. So what a crazy trip. Should have just done a cat live stream? Sure. Yeah, Buddy's handling this one. Yeah, it's not that I'm anti-ad, I'm just anti-intrusive ad. You know, listen, it's an ad-based platform, period. I get that, no problem. And, you know, you can do ads at the beginning, and I'm sure they do an ad at the end. You know, that's their pretty standard. But I also found out that if I turn ads off, they still run ads. I just don't get any money from them. So it's like, well, then I should probably just, you know, monetize it and not, and just say no to the mid-rolls. I see it on Phil McKnight's. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting ads and ads and ads. And it's like, yeah, well, Phil left mid-rolls on. They said, you know, you could get a 20% uplift. That's their tagline. A 20% uplift if you run mid-rolls. And Phil was like, sure. And he doesn't turn it off. I fight, literally every time I come on here, I get a banner telling me, you know, you really should be running mid-roll ads because I don't like 2 hours of content with no, you know, they're like, what show runs 2 hours? I'm like, HBO? So they're like, yeah, but they pay for that. So they really don't like 2 hours of ad-free content. But, I'm not going to do mid-rolls. Again, it's not like you're coming on here without seeing an ad. You still have an ad at the beginning and an ad at the end. So, but I'm just not crazy about the mid-roll ads. Again, people were saying that when in Phil's, they're like, wow, Phil just got muted and an ad ran beside him. Now, that's how they sold it to me. They were like, we've found a way not to hurt your content. The ads will run side by side. What they don't tell you is they're going to mute you while the ad runs, just like they would when you're watching a basketball game and they're doing free throws, right? They mute the game, an ad pops up, right? That's the whole. They love side by sides now. Any quiet point in a basketball game or in a hockey game or in a football game, they run a little side ad. Oh, hold on. Here's a quick message from State Farm. I'm like, another State Farm ad? They're like, yeah, they booked a lot of slots. I'm telling you, at some point they're going to take that away from me. It's just a matter of time before they go, yeah, listen, we asked you nicely, and you said no. So now we're just doing it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, You still get ads over the live chat, and there's no way to shut that off. Wow. Yeah, I don't turn them on. I have mid-rolls turned up. They just posted a banner that I had to close out of. Like, it popped up. They're like, okay, we know you're running ads manually. Now would be a good time. I'm like, really? Because they're just getting here, and I'm sure they just sat through an ad. No? Didn't they just sit through an ad? No? I think they did. So, you sure this would be a good time to run the ad? Is that, if you run it like seconds after you start the feed, is it really a mid-roll? And then, you can't stop at just one. You need mid-roll after mid-roll. So, you're thinking about trying the YouTube Premium. People love it. I wouldn't talk you out of it. People seem to really like YouTube Premium. Yeah, it's just like Microsoft. Yeah, we're still stocking you, so you can turn all that stuff off. You just saw an ad on Phil McKnight's channel. Well, in his live shows, you'll see it if you watch a live feed, you'll see it in the comments. People will be like, whoa, I'm getting a whole bunch of ads. So, yeah, it happens. So Phil's video about getting sued. Well, he's not getting sued, though, is he? He's sued, someone would have filed a complaint. Would have been sent over by sheriff or registered mail. He would have X amount of days, depending on the jurisdiction, to file a response. Seems to me like he got a demand letter. Ironically, by saying he was being sued, when he actually wasn't being sued, might be grounds for being sued. You got to be accurate with that stuff. They weren't suing you. They were saying, hey, return the guitar, or we might sue you. That's how I saw that. I didn't, right? That's a straight up demand letter. There's no lawyer that's going to file a lawsuit without filing a demand letter. Because the first thing the defense is going to come up and say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this all could have been avoided had he just sent a demand letter. But they didn't. They decided to go straight to court. It makes the person filing the suit look unreasonable. So, as far as I could see, that was just bumped up a little bit for effect, right? I'm being sued. Are you, though? Did you get a complaint served by a sheriff or served by registered mail? Or did someone say, if you don't return the guitar, we're thinking about suing you? That's how I read that letter. So... No, Phil did look sick. He looked pale, didn't he? Is it just me, or did he look like he had like no color in his face, like he had the flu? Yeah, no, Gibson sent cease and desist. I know somebody that they got a cease and desist from Gibson, and it said, you know, we can just work this out. Please give us a call, and they left a number. And the guy I know called them, and he basically said, yeah, you know, because my friend was selling mouse pads that had a Gibson Les Paul. He had one that had a Strat on it and one that had a Les Paul on it. And they're like, yeah, we actually own that shape. So he's like, I can't put a mouse pad with a depiction. They're like, no, the mouse pad is in the shape of our registered trademark. And it's a shape mark. And so with a shape mark, how you would test it is you have the item. What you would do is you would put it down on a piece of paper and put a pencil around it, and then pull the item back and look at the outline. Does that outline look like the line drawing outline that Gibson has? And that's it. Because people are like, oh, you know, it's a Les Paul, but it, you know, they can't own the shape mark. I said, no, they make them change it ever so slightly so that if you traced around the guitar with a pencil on a blank piece of paper, and then you traced around a Gibson Les Paul, or pick any, you know, an SG, and you look at those outlines side by side, do they look substantially similar to the point of a reasonable likelihood of confusion? Then yeah, you're probably in a trademark infringement. Which is why ESP, they really offset their SG-looking guitars. That's why a lot of guitars do a much sharper horn. So they say, no, it doesn't look the same. Right? Enough of a difference that you would escape that scrutiny. But if it looks exactly the same, no matter what name is on it, it doesn't matter the name on it. It's whether the outline, whether the shadow looks the same, the silhouette looks the same. Which is, you know, again, we can argue the legitimacy of shape marks. Quite frankly, I'm not really sure that they should get it, because a trademark is supposed to have zero utility. If it has utility at all, then it needs to be a patent, because patent has a 20-year lifespan. Trademarks go on forever. So you could argue, say, well, if the cutaway has no utility, why don't you put the horn on the bottom and the cutaway on the top? They're like, oh, well, maybe it does have utility. Right? That's how that goes. So they've gotten away with it so far. The EU invalidated it. But we'll see what happens. I don't think the U.S. has any. And Japan invalidated it years ago. That's why you can get a Les Paul shaped guitar out of Japan. Because they said, no, too late. Too many people are already making guitars. And they sort of what they would call latches, which is the equivalent of you snooze, you lose. And they took too long to go after them. They said, nope. There's too many people with too much money invested. We're not going to hurt our makers over here just because you've suddenly discovered that you don't like copies. So Japan invalidated the trademark in Japan. I think Buddy left. You think Fender bought all of the patents and trademarks of G&L, so Fender's likely the owner? Yeah. I don't think they're going to maybe revive it. You know, you got to remember, Leo's first was Music Man, right? And wasn't it just amps to start? And then he did the basses. And never really did he ever do guitars when he was with Music Man? I don't think so. And then eventually it became G&L. Yeah, no, Black Cat is a Black Cat. He was back there, but I think he ran upstairs. He knows what this means. He knows I'm not going to pay attention to him, so he's like, ugh, all right, I'll go upstairs. The problem was the Japanese copies were better built. Yeah. Oh, the Fender found that out too. Those first round of Japanese Strats came over in 1982, and those guys were like, oh, well, we're all done because they're pretty much eating our lunch in terms of quality control. It's a much, much better built guitar than anything they were making in America at the time. They did bring a guy in, the so-called Smith era in 82 for Fender. But costs went up, and they quickly shut that down. They're like, no. 83 was real bad in 84. By 85, there's not a single U.S.-made guitar. They're all made in Japan at that point, just for a year, as they transition over. And then 86, if I remember correctly, Fender only came out with two guitars, the 3 guitars, the 57 Strat, the 62 Strat, and the 52 Tele. Right? So 3 guitars. Right, they were going for a vintage thing to sort of like remind everyone, we were a good company once. And then 87 was their big rebirth with the American Standard. Black Cat is a Trademark Fireworks Corp. Well, the trademark goes by like sort of like an area, you know, like what are you in? And so there's I think oh no, not Black Cat, it's Bad Cat now that I think about it. Bad Cat amps, not Black Cat. So yeah, you might be it goes by, there's a number. And so, like, anything related to, like, musical instruments is a certain number. And you put that in. You're like, I want a trademark for, like, this area. And then they often do, if they think they're going to be, like, really big, they'll do, like, clothing. Because they want to get a trademark on the shirt and on hats and things like that. As a way to protect themselves. No, Greco, Takai, yeah, no, they were all great coots. No, absolutely. Really good. Normal 50 degrees in Austin. Yeah, it was, I think, 1 or -1 this morning. It was so cold. I got a little ice dam in the corner of the jut out in the back of my house, and it was able to pry a little seam open just enough that I was getting, it was raining in the bathroom. The water was dripping from the ceiling. It was making me crazy. I had to put down all these pans, and then eventually it just ran out of water. And then by this morning, it was over. And so I was able to get the pans out of there. But it was annoying, you know, for one day. Buddy, will you get the hell... Come on, get out of here, you. Get out of here. What are you doing? Anyway, he's done this before, and he's like freaking muted my freaking... Get out of here, you punk. He's been a pain in the ass. That cat. Crazy. So, it was a tale of two NAMMs. Right before I left for NAMM, they were talking about this big snowstorm that we were going to get on Sunday. But they're like, the snow is going to show up Sunday night. I was going to be leaving at 7 in the morning for my return trip. So Sunday night, they're like, by 6 o'clock, it's going to start snowing. Well, I would be wheels down at 3:30. So I was like, whatever. And I said, I should be fine. The next day, before I leave, the day before, that's like 2 days before I'm leaving. The next day before I leave, they're like, nope, wait, correction. We are looking at it. We think now it's going to form a little more north and take a slight more northerly track, which would get it up here instead of at 6 p.m., around 3 p.m. I'm like, oh, great. So I fly out to L.A., and it was a long flight. We had a crazy headwind. It was a 6.5-hour flight. So a lot of times it's 6 hours. It felt like an extra 30 minutes. So we get all the way to L.A., and I land, and I get my Uber, and I get to the hotel, and I check the forecast, and I had been looking at my phone on the weather app, and it had moved from 6 p.m. to 3 p.m. Now it's showing noon for the start of the snow. And I am like, it hasn't even been the first day, so I get my Uber, and I go over, there's a taco party going on. And I had been invited to this party. And I'm in the Uber going over there, and the woman was like, oh, are you going to that studio? I said, yeah. She goes, I literally just dropped off another couple there. I was like, well, so you know where it is. She goes, I do. And we went, and we got there. Now, last year, it was so packed that if you weren't on the list, you weren't getting in. I needed like my either a NAMM badge, or I needed my license, and I needed to be on the list. This year, no list. It was about half the people that was there last year. I mean, it was really down. A lot of people skipped it this year. And I immediately got in line for tacos. And I got a trio of tacos, and I look back, and the line for the, the bar was really long. Like, longer than the taco line. I said, oh, I'm good. I walk up to the patio, and I can see that there's a couple of stairs that go up, and there's another little patio. Then there's some stairs after that. And I said, I think there's another bar up there. And there was another bar up there. It had one person in front of it. So I walk up with my tacos. I go, oh, what beer would pair well with these tacos? She was like, oh, I recommend this. I said, well, let's go with that. So she gave me some beer. I don't even know what it was. Probably some sort of a Mexican beer, because they were trying to do a Mexican theme. That's why there was tacos. So I get the beer, and I see my contact there, Rich. And I said, geez, I was wondering if you were going to have the taco party, because I don't think you're displaying. He goes, we're not displaying this year. He's like, we're skipping this year in the hall. He said, but, we're still going to have the taco party. I'm like, good, nice. So I have the beer, and then who shows up but Trey Xavier from Gear Gods. And I had long finished my tacos, I had been there for a little bit, and I was still sort of working off the beer a little bit. And he goes, I'm going to get in line for tacos. I said, I'll come with you. So the first time I got, there was a veggie, there was I thought it was a chicken, but I think it was not a chicken. I think it was some sort of chicken substitute or whatever. It was delicious though. I mean, nothing wrong with it. One was just all veggies. And then one was carnitas. So I said, 2 carnitas, please. I just went with the carnitas. And of course, it has the diced. After that, they have like the diced onions and cilantro and all that stuff. So I loaded it up, and this reminds you it's a guitar show. So I get I get to talking with those guys for a while, and Trey was saying he thought like a lot of his friends were kind of skipping this year. So it wasn't Modelo or it might have been Dos Equis. Might have been Dos Equis. Now that you mention it, that sounds more right. And so I get a couple more tacos, and I hang out for like another maybe hour. I had already been there about an hour. I hang out for like another hour, and I'm like, all right, I'm tired. I just got off a 6.5-hour flight, and I pretty much took an Uber right over. And so I went back to the hotel, because even though it's 9:30, it's really like 12:30 for me. So I was like, yeah, no, I got to go. So went back to the hotel, crashed, and then got up first day. That would have been Thursday morning. I got up and took a shower, got all prepped. I brought a backpack that day, and I get to the hall super early, and that's the day I ran into Ola, because he had the same idea. We were there. I probably got there about 7:15. I was probably seeing him about 7:30. Right, that's really early. The show doesn't open till 10. So I get there at about 7:15, and I start walking around. I see Ola, as you saw on the day one video, and my phone was like, what the hell is this? And it's JetBlue. Like, we have serious concerns about your return trip on Sunday, and you should seriously think about rescheduling that flight. And I'm like, oh, great. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen, and I can't relax. So the show opens. I see a bunch of my friends, and I get an email from them. The first was like a notice from like the app, and then I get an email pretty much saying the same thing. We have grave concerns about whether your flight is going to be returning at that time. You have a high probability of cancellation. You should seriously think about changing your flight. So I go on the website, and I go to they were like, you can do it right on the website. So I go on the website, and they're like, unfortunately, you can't do this right now. And I'm like losing my friggin' mind. So I said, you've got to call them. So there are places at NAMM that are quiet, like way up and away from everybody in like the hallways. You can get away, and that's exactly what I did. I got up and away from the noisy floor, and I got out. So people are still walking by, but it's not the same noise. So I called JetBlue, and they go, you have a 79-minute wait. I was like, no. But I felt an urgent need to speak with someone at JetBlue. So I said, I'm going back to the hotel. I can't relax. I'm like losing my freaking mind. So it's probably 1 p.m, and I take an Uber back to the hotel. And I go up in my room, and I call them, and they're like, it is an 83-minute wait. And I'm like, okay. And after about 5 minutes, they said, you don't have to sit here and keep this line open if you don't want to. We have your number. If you can be reached at the number you called us from, we will call you back. So you don't have to sit on the line. And I said, okay. So I put them on, I hung up. I said, do you want to do this? I said, yes. I said, okay, someone will call you back shortly. About 90 minutes later, I get a call from JetBlue. And she's like, I explained the situation. I think we're going to have a storm. I said, here is my confirmation number. My flight was on Sunday at 7 a.m. I said, I was trying to book, can I just take the 7 a.m. on Saturday? Because you want that 7 a.m. flight because it's so much easier to get to the airport. Much, much easier than at like 9:30. So she goes, I have one seat left on that flight. Do you want it? And I was like, sure. Of course I want it. She goes, it's a window seat. I'm like, I fucking love window seats. Yeah, God, that's my preferred seat. I want a window seat. And she's like, okay, all right. I will. She goes, there is an upcharge. And I was like, okay, well, what's the upcharge? You know, like clickety, clickety, clack, clack, clack. She goes, $14. I said, I just paid $7 for a 1 liter. A half a liter bottle of water. So, yeah, no, sure. Let's do this. Let's book this. So she said, okay. So she goes, I'm going to charge you for the seat. We're going to refund you for the other seat. And we're not going to charge you to switch flights because even though you took the cheapest friggin' flight out here, we're still going to allow you to switch because there's a storm. And it's in our interest to get you back now rather than later. Once that happened, and she goes, I'm going to send you a confirmation right now. Just wait a few minutes here. I'm going to send you a confirmation email. So she sends me the confirmation. She goes, do you have it? I said, I do. She goes, okay, our business is done here. Have a great flight. I said, thank you. Complete 180 in my attitude. I am free. I am just like, oh my God, yes. And I go back and I'm like, I just switched my flight and I got a flight and I'm leaving Saturday instead of Sunday and I'm going to get there early and it's going to be super awesome and I love everybody and it was just great. And I just, I just went around and, and saw everybody and told them about my super awesome freaking return flight, and I was just so relieved. And then I think so I ran into so many people. You could see it on my Instagram. I mean, Adam Neely, Paul Davids, just every fluff, pretty much every top YouTuber that was there. I ran into, and it was a really good. I ran into just everybody. And I was just so happy. I mean, it was such a 180 in my attitude from, you might get back, you might not. So I was like, oh, thank God. So I hung out for the rest of the day. And then that night, I ran into Jamie the bassist. I don't know if you know Jamie the bassist. He what a phenom on the bass, and he texted me and he was like, hey man, are you at NAMM? He's like, we're up at the Yamaha media event. He's like, free food? I'm like, you had me at free food, let's go. So we went up to the media booth and we're hanging out there, and they were drinking, but I didn't feel like drinking. I was pretty hungry and I wasn't into, they were like, it was like beef sticks and cheese and crackers. And I was just like, this isn't working for me. So he goes, well, you want to go get some dinner? I was like, yeah. I said, he's like, we have a car. And I said, all right. I said, don't you remember last year, Jamie, when you were here, you came to my hotel and we went to that burger place? He goes, I love that burger place. Let's just go to the burger place. It's like literally called the burger place. So we hop in the car. we drive over to the burger place, and we had a wonderful dinner. And I was starting to tire by then. Remember, I was up at like 5:30 a.m., to be at the show by 7:15. And, I was kind of wearing out, and they wanted to get going anyway, so I pretty much called it a night. That was Thursday night. Friday, again, I'm up at about 5:30, 6 a.m., and I get in my Uber, and we drive all the way over to the show, and I realize I brought the wrong friggin' badge. I have my media badge instead of my exhibitor badge. The media badge gets me into that free food event at Yamaha. But the exhibitor badge is necessary if you want to go in the doors before the show opens at 10. I'm there at 7:15. I pretty much called my Uber at 7. So I said, oh, my Uber driver never left the circle. He was sitting right there. I realized, I spun around. He was right there. I went running over to the car. He was eating a sandwich. He was having his breakfast. And I tapped on his window. I said, dude, I forgot my badge. I got to go back. He goes, okay, get in. I said, so how do I do this on the app? He goes, even if you called me up on the app, he goes, there's no guarantee I would get it. Someone might beat me to getting it. He goes, and because that prior one had already completed, there's really no way to do this. I said, how about I just pay you cash? He goes, $10 round trip. I'm like, done. He goes, I'll take you over to the hotel. I'll wait outside. Go get your badge. Come back down. I went up, got the badge, chowed a couple of ibuprofen because I had a raging headache starting. And I was like, this is going to be the start of the day. Grabbed a couple of ibuprofen, sucked those down, went back downstairs. And when I got there, I happened to have a bunch of 10s and a 5. And I just gave him the 15. I said, dude, thank you so much. And he was like, oh, thank you. He was so happy. Give him a 50% uplift in what we had negotiated. And I walked up to them. I said, now I have the right badge. Like, okay, buddy. They're like, we remember you. Because I had already showed them the ID. They're like, no, cool and everything, but you can't get in for like 3 hours, right? Because your badge won't get you in. I was like, oh my God, oh no. So now I'm back. I'm like, check out my badge, bro. And I was able to go right in. And because I knew I wasn't going to be there Saturday, I shot 2 videos that day. So day 2 and day 3 were shot on day 2. Because, movie magic. I wanted to have 3 shows. Did Vola introduce the SFB Signature Series? Not yet. Should be. And so I'm in such a good mood because I know I'm all set for my flight. Everything's going great. And again, a great day. Shot both. Hey, what's up, speaker? I shot everything that morning, and I was sort of free. And I didn't bring the I was able to fit everything I needed in my pockets. I got something in my pockets for you, and that really worked out because I didn't have to schlep around that bag on my back, which was making me even extra sweaty. So a few people commented, they're like, dude, you look like you've lost weight. I'm like, it's a stress loss. I'm like, I can't eat. I'm dying. Even 5 tacos weren't, they were tiny tacos though, but I said even 5 tacos weren't getting me over the top here. So a lot of people were, they say to this day, if you listen to the wind, you can still hear the beeping. So I wound up shooting the 2 videos. And that was a great one with Sully. Someone was just pointing out, love Sully. Yeah, I love Sully too. I love Sully guitars, and I love John Sullivan. He's great. And he's always good, to have a chat with. And we were talking about Kiss, right? About how we both discovered Kiss as young kids. And I wanted to talk about Ace, because Ace passed away this past year. And so, it sort of came up. And I was worried because, he has those Ace tattoos. You don't want to make a man upset, So it's like, if you can talk about Ace without, crying, because I get it. It's like he's someone terribly influential. So we were able to wax poetic about our discovery of Kiss and how Kiss affected, our formative years. And like I told him, I said, I discovered Kiss when I was like 10. I had already been playing guitar for 4 years. By the time I got Kiss Alive 2, I had been playing guitar for 5 years. So, but when Ace played that solo, it was like nothing I had ever heard before. So the rest of the day, I was going around, hooking up with people, meeting people. The people at Bad Cat were super nice. Ibanez, super nice. I might be able to do something with both of them this year. They said, would love to work with you this year. And same with, who else? Not Third Power. There was someone else. I'll have to go through my cards. But it was good. It was a productive. Then I'm sitting, because I'm so friggin' tired. I'd already been walking hours, and my watch kept beeping. You've been working out for 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, shut up. My friggin' watch. I keep going. I hate you. And I took a seat, and I look over, and I see this guy, and I said, God, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that was Garrett Peters. It was Garrett Peters. I couldn't believe it. I said, oh, my God, I haven't seen you in what? He goes, 6 years. I said, oh, my God. He goes, maybe 7. He goes, yeah. He goes, I haven't been to NAMM since 2019. I said, oh, man. It's so good to see him, and we were talking for such a long time. And he told me about this guy. He was like the third person to say, you got to check out this kid playing Van Halen. He's like smoking. So I caught that. I shot some video of that. That'll probably come out this week. That was at the Third Power booth. I also did a video with the woman who's like she either owns Third Power, or she's certainly like the top person at Third Power and Third Power amps. And she's actually a pretty good guitar player, too. And she was showing me, everything with it. And it's funny because when we first started, she's like, this isn't sounding right. And she realized she had something wrong. I said, well, that was the first day. In the morning, I had already done my walkthrough. And I said, let's work it all out now so that when the rest of the day comes, you'll have this all worked out. She's like, I appreciate your optimism. Because she was, they get embarrassed. They're like, why isn't this working right? I said, you'll work it out. Don't worry, man. Don't sweat it. It's all good. We'll figure this out. And she did. And she's like, oh, I got it. She had an amp switcher. And she just had it on the wrong place. She goes, I'm literally on the wrong amp. That's why I'm moving these knobs. I'm like, why is there making no sound difference? And she figured it out. So I said, it's before the show opens. Now is the time to work all this stuff out. So that worked out great. Saw Rob Chapman, saw Rabia Masad. I ran into everybody. It was great. Which is, NAMM is such a big reunion for me at this point. Yeah, you see all your friends, year after year. It's really good. Saw John Bollinger, talked to that lady at Third Power. She seemed really cool. Yeah, and she's actually quite a decent guitar player, too. And Joshua Jones, that might have been Joshua Jones. I'd have to go back and see if I can see his tag from the footage. The kid with the big giant hair, he looks like, Cousin It, right? So, we That day went pretty good. Then, actually, by like 4 o'clock, I was getting tired. I'd been there since, well, I was in an Uber at 7, but I really didn't get there till about 7:30 because I got there, had to turn around and go back, and then back to the place again with my new badge. But I was wearing down. I was like, so I started to go around. I did a big, long, walk around to all my friends to say, and who else I saw there who's a really good guitar player? If you don't know him, Joey Z. Joey Z is an amazing friggin' player. And he tours with a lot of the rap bands because they want like a shred guy on stage. And he's a working musician. He's a pro. He absolutely is just one of those kids he's got the shreds down. He's really, really good. So it was good to, I met him. I met Joey Z 2 years ago. He came up to me at the Chapman booth because I think he's with Chapman, and he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, dude, I just wanted to say, I've known you since I was really young, and I just love your playing and all this stuff." And I was like, "Oh, dude, thanks." And then I saw him play. I was like, "Whoa, dude, you're a shredder, man. You're a freaking player. That's really good." So I saw him again last year, and then I saw him again this year, and we finally exchanged numbers, to keep in touch. So it was all good. But I think it was about maybe like 4 o'clock. The show goes to 6. And I said, "Are you really going to stay for another 2 hours, or is it time to, start your departure?" So that's exactly what I did. I went back to the hotel, and I wanted to go to the burger bar at like 4:30, but they were closed. They're like, "Oh, they don't open till 5. I said, "Okay, I'll go upstairs." I think I went upstairs. I think I fell asleep. I woke up at like 5:30, and I was like, "Oh, well, now I can go down there." Now it's 5:30, and now I'll go down. So I went down to the burger bar, and it's nice and quiet. I just woke up. You know how you wake up, you're a little cranky. And I wasn't there. I put my order in. They brought me over a beer. And this German couple came in, and they wanted to play, what is that? It's like shuffleboard, right? But it's got it's got the disc with the ball in the middle of it, and it's shuffleboard, right? I think that's what it is, except it's not with, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like big long table, and she was screaming, "Wow, wow!" I'm sitting there like, I just want to have a quiet beer at the bar. Thank God they only played one game. And they finally went up because, oh man, it was making me crazy. And just as they finished, my burger came out with my onion rings. And it was freaking awesome. And I didn't get to see Lee. I love Lee Sklar, but I didn't run into Lee when I was there. I mean, he's you can't miss the guy. But I did an interview with him years ago, and I've seen him several times, and he recognizes me now ever since we did the interview. And he's always super nice to me. What a wonderful, nice guy, Lee Sklar. And but no, I didn't see him this year. I missed him. I did see Phil X on the second day, and I think a lot of the people who I wanted to see really weren't. I probably would have seen them if I was able to stay for Saturday, but I just couldn't stay. So I had my burger. I went back up to the hotel room, and I said, "Okay, let's pack." So I packed everything up. I got everything ready to go, and I had a pair of jeans. So I went to get a couple of pairs of jeans before I left. And I got one pair. They were great, fit perfectly. Everything was awesome. I get the second pair, and the one thing I told the dude when I was at the store is I just don't, because he's like, we have these. I go, dude, those are ripped jeans. Okay. If I wore those ripped jeans, you know, you're gonna peg me as having a midlife crisis. Okay. I can't, my kids would never let me live that down. I'm not wearing ripped jeans at my age. I can't do it. He's like, understood. I get there. This is for day 2. I open the new jeans. They're ripped jeans. I said, oh my God. So I folded them back up and I threw them back in. And after I got back, I was able to return them. No, he remembered me. I said, dude, no ripped jeans. He goes, oh man. He goes, sorry. And I was able to get a full refund on them. So no problem there. And those weren't on sale, where the ones I did buy were on sale, literally half the money. So I'll stick with the ones that were on sale. He goes, did you want to return both? I said, oh, no, I like the other ones. I said, but these, I'm not wearing ripped jeans, dude. I mean, every time I would show them to people, I'd have to go, I have cats. So I get into the I get everything into the suitcase. I get it all packed up. I have my clothes for the next day set and ready to go. And but you know, I have a 7 a.m. flight. It's tough to fall asleep when you know you have something like there that early. And I finally fell asleep. I had an alarm set for 4 a.m. So I got up at 4 and took a shower and, you know, got dressed, did my final couple of articles of clothing packing. And I should have called an Uber right then at like 4:30. But I said, just wait a little bit. And at like 4:45, I went down and I checked out. And I called the Uber. And they said they'll be there in like 18 minutes. And it was some guy coming down 5, the highway. And I said, well, he's probably coming from the airport. He's going to drop somebody off, and then he's going to pick me up and go back to the airport, right? Because he's already on the highway. And I sit there for about 16 or 17 minutes, and he cancels. And I'm like, oh no. They're like, we're trying to find you another ride. They find me this other ride. They're 20 minutes away. They'll be there in like 21 minutes. I'm like, 21 minutes? So that woman showed up. She was the nicest lady. She drove a good 20, 22 minutes to get to me, to drive me to the airport, which is crazy. And no one wanted to take that ride to the airport. And she took it. And it's so much easier at that time. You fly right in like nothing. So drove me right in, brought me right up to my gate. And I tipped her the max, and I gave her $20, which was the last of my cash. I have 2 10s here. When we were back at the trunk, because Uber records everything, and they don't like cash deals on the side. So when that guy brought me back that first time, he turned his phone off so that Uber wasn't, listening to us and recording us. So when we were back at the trunk and she was getting my bag out, I said, here's, and I gave her $20. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. And then when I got in there, I rated her 5 stars and gave her a 30% tip because I was so happy that she actually showed up. I was losing my mind. I'm there at like, here comes my flight and I got nobody to drive me to the airport. And I was just so friggin' happy that she took my request, my drive request, my ride request. So I was finally at the airport. I could finally relax. And because I had a seat upgrade, I was moved from Group F, which is when I was on the way out, to Group B. So I was able to board pretty quickly. And got on there, got into my seat, and, I'm a big guy. The last thing you want is a big person next to you, and it was a very slight very slender woman. So I said, oh, this is going to be an easy flight because I'm not all squished in. And it really was. It was a great flight. It was, pretty quiet the whole way. And we got up in the air and we hit maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes of turbulence. And I mean, like rocking and rolling. Boom, 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 boom. It was pretty strong turbulence. They would normally start putting out, food and drink, but they were like, we can't. But then it calmed down for like a couple of hours. And they served the snacks and drinks and, did that whole thing. And then he said, the pilot came on and said, hey, we're getting word from the tower that we're about to hit on this flight path. We're about to hit another patch of turbulence. So everybody buckle up. And if you have anything out in your tray tables, you should hand it in now before we hit the turbulence. And quite frankly, that second round of turbulence wasn't as bad as that first one, but we kind of rocking and rolling. Everybody's heads are rolling left and right and left and right. And that only lasted about 10 minutes. And then we were good for the rest. The tailwind was so strong on the flight back. Remember, 6.5 hours out. The tailwind was so strong. Again, you're not breaking the sound barrier because it's almost like, in one way, you've got your boat on maximum and you're going upstream. So, the water is rushing past you. You can only go so fast as relative to the bank, right? Now imagine you have the boat going in the other direction. Now you're going with the stream and you've got right? So as to the stream, you're going like, at your max. But as to the banks, because you're on a stream, you're really going fast. So we were hitting 720, 730 on the flight back. It was a 4.5 hour flight. They cut 2 hours off that flight. We were going so fast on the ride back. So I did see the Anderson guys. I ran into Lee. Was talking to him for a while. I love Lee. And I saw Danish Pete, but Danish Pete is always mobbed by people who want to talk to him. So we only just sort of like that. But no, I did see Lee and talked to him for a little bit. And then it's funny because Lee said, he goes, I go, so what's it for you, like a 12-hour flight? He goes, yeah. He goes, but we're in first class. We're being pampered the whole way. I said, there you go. So, the company's paying for it. He goes, and I'm the head. He goes, I'm in first class. He goes, they're bringing out like gourmet food like the whole flight. We're good. He goes, I can literally go to sleep in a bed. He goes, it's pretty awesome. I said, sure. So then we finally land. When I left L.A., it was like 65 degrees. When I land in Boston, it's 12 degrees. That's Fahrenheit. That's in serious negative territory for you Celsius guys. And I've got, luckily, pants and not shorts, a T-shirt, 2 T-shirts, an undershirt and my black T-shirt, and I've got a hoodie. And luckily, I don't know what, I brought a pair of gloves. We land. We put up to the jetway, and we're waiting. And the pilot comes on, and he goes, the jetway is frozen. They can't get it to move. I'm going to try and bring out a truck to help pull the jetway and break it from its frozen state. The jetway was frozen. And all of a sudden, it took about 10 minutes, and boom, you can hear the jetway hit the side of the plane. And he basically said, we're good. We're opening the cabin door. So, we finally, everybody starts to get off the plane. It takes like, you know how that goes. It takes forever. Get off the plane, and I said, just get down to the front there, because now I have to wait for a bus. I have to wait for the Massport bus to take me to this enormous off-site lot that's about 30 minutes away. But it's much easier to drive to. I'm going down to the Braintree lot. So I'm waiting for the Braintree bus. There's Braintree, Woburn, Framingham. There's all these buses, right? And I'm waiting for Braintree. And I'm sitting on like a wrought iron bench, which pretty cold. And I got the hoodie on. I got the hood over. I got the gloves on. And all of a sudden, that friggin' Braintree bus came up. I was like, oh my God. Like literally 2 minutes after I sat down. I was like, yes! Yes! And he gets off the bus. I didn't even think you heard me. I said, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. I was going to make, because you really can't go inside. There's really no way to get in. And then when the bus shows up, you would ever be out fast enough. And you're going to miss the bus and sit there for at least another 30 minutes for the next bus. Because when one's at the airport, the other bus is at the parking lot. And there's two buses and they go past each other, right? Just back and forth, right? So it's every 30 minutes, there's one at the station and then there's one at the airport. So I get on that bus. Oh my God. I was so friggin' happy. So I get on there, and a lot of times when we go to the Braintree, my wife and I, we will stop and go to like Five Guys, and there's a Dave's Hot Chicken there. There's like a whole bunch of like little restaurants on the way in to get to the lot. But as I'm driving by and I'm looking, I can see, because there's going to be a big snowstorm the next day, there's not an empty spot. I keep looking. I'm going like, are there any empty parking spots? Because I'm up high. And I can see the lot as I'm driving by. And I'm looking, I'm going, and I can see all these cars like driving around trying to find a spot. And I'm like, oh, we're never going to be able to get, this is going to be a waste of time. So I pull in the lot. She's already there waiting for me. I already had my e-ticket ready to go, boop, boop, right off. Get my bag. Get over to her. And she goes, do you want to hit the Five Guys? I said, I don't think we're going to find a parking spot. I think we should just go back up to our area and we can go to like the Dave's that's down in Dedham now. You know, down by Legacy Place, down by like the, like by the BJ's there, Costco BJ's area. And she said, okay. So we get out, we went there and grabbed some lunch. And then I finally made it back. And, oh, man, I was so friggin', it was cold. It was cold friggin' this morning. It was crazy cold. It was so cold. Did I already mention this? That it was raining in my bathroom because there was just enough cold and there was just enough heat inside that it must have pried open a little gap in an ice dam. And I had water dripping from my ceiling. And, it wasn't devastating, but it was just enough to really piss me off. And I had to get that going. And sure enough, it got so cold overnight that it stopped. I think it just froze again. So we'll see how long that goes. So, Dave's Hot Chicken is good. Man, they're growing. They're growing like crazy. There used to be one around here, and now there's like a half dozen. That chain is growing like crazy. And then the other thing is that, I was back for the football game. We were going to miss the football game because that would have started, my Pats game would have started at 3. And so, I was back a day early. And, I didn't have to worry about missing the game or anything like that. So it all worked out. And that was my NAMM Odyssey. Yeah, I think Fender was private invitation only. I think you're right. I think that I couldn't. I remember seeing them, so I didn't have. Gibson was out in the hallway, which is you know, at least they had something there on display. Peavey had a booth that I walked through, but it was actually, you know, a little light. Didn't have a ton of stuff in there. I don't know what's going on with Peavey, but they had mostly combo amps. I didn't see like an Invective there or anything like that. So it was kind of weird. You know, if PRS was there, I didn't see them. Now, Fender had an off-site invite that I couldn't make it to. Not that I was even invited. But, yeah, I don't make the Fender list for some reason. Kind of a bummer. But, what are those notes you just did? I mean, you start with the 1, go to the 5, to the flat 5, to the 5, to the sharp 5, right, or the flat 6, augmented 5, and then 7, 1. Yeah, Fender had a booth, but it was like Fender Studio and no guitars. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to that big Fender event. It would have been nice. Maybe next year. We'll see. See if I can pull some strings and go. But, yeah, so that was my NAMM Odyssey. I did see some, again, as you saw from the walkthrough, there's a lot of cool guitars out there. There's no shortage of brands, you know, that's for sure. There was all kinds of, you know, brands there. And again, as you walk through, you just say to yourself, man, there's a lot of guitars. There's just so much out there. It's crazy. And I think there was an AI company, I think it was Moises, that bought the lanyard necklace. So all the lanyard straps had that branding on it. First time I've seen them there. I don't think I've ever seen that brand there before. So, you know, for a friendly wager on Hawks versus Pats, no way. I don't know. It's kind of a coin flip in my mind. You know, there's positive. I think I think the Hawks have the have the odds, right? The Vegas odds. They're giving them, is it 3.5? Johnny Bean, hey, good to see you, man. Good to see you at NAMM too. Talking to Moises upstairs at the Creator Lounge. Okay. You know, yeah. Does it throw you off hearing the acoustic aspects of an electric guitar versus electric output? Not really. You know. I just don't like playing electric guitars without some amp. Just, you know, too thin. Acoustic, sure. Oh, I saw my my good friend Dominic Wagner from Thomann. He's like one of the bigwigs over there. I ran into him, and we had a great conversation. He's such a good guy, and so I was talking to him for a little while, and then Landon Bailey showed up, and I introduced him. I said, Landon, this is Dominic Landon, and you know, it's you find this when you go to there. Sometimes people see friends, and then you're standing there, and it's like, I'm Steve, and they're like, oh right, this is my friend Steve. So I have learned over the years that when someone walks up to say hi to you, and you're already talking to someone, introduce them. You say, oh, by the way, Landon, this is my friend Dominic. Dominic is my friend Landon. I mean, it's just the polite thing to do. The 2026 ESP Limited Series looked amazing. I think the ESP was by appointment only, and I didn't set up for an appointment. I think that if I wanted to with my media badge, I probably could have got into that no problem. I would have said, listen, I'm a YouTuber, and I want to cover the booth. Can we do this? And, we probably, would have. But I just, it's been a while since I've been here. I missed 1 week, right? 1 week? I know absence makes the heart grow fonder, but let's put it in perspective. 1 week. And I did that under protest. Actually, I probably could have done one last week. I was just dead tired. I would have been just out of it. Take the Pats that money is heavy on the Hawks. Sure. Yeah, you got to talk fast, and if you see somebody, you have to get their attention because it's a sea of people. Yeah. It's so funny because I was like, oh, maybe I won't run. Oh, my God, there he is. I ran into Max, Guitar Max. He's always great. And he had some wonderful family news. So that's always nice. And then I ran into Sammy Bowler, who is, when I saw that Sammy, was posting, he's like, yeah, I'm touring with the Goo Goo Dolls. I thought he was touring as the opening act. I didn't realize he was literally in the Goo Goo Dolls, but he was, because on New Year's Eve, I was watching, the Dick Clark with Ryan Seacrest, Chevy Silverado, New Year's Rockin' Eve, and sponsored by Verizon, and the Goo Goo Dolls came on, and they have that song that starts with the mandolin. I was, oh my God, it's Sammy! I couldn't believe it, and so when I saw him, I was like, dude, what a year you're having, man! You're out with it. I said, I saw you on New Year's Eve. He goes, oh, thanks so much, You always pass by Rick Beato. I didn't see Rick this year. I've seen him. I saw him last year, and I think the year before. But I did not see Rick this year. Again, if I was there one more day, if I was there Saturday, I would have increased my ability by 50%, right? Because I was there 2 days. We could have added another 1 day. That's a 50% increase. But I couldn't. I was just so happy to be home. It's funny because on the way out, there's a young woman who really good guitar player, and she was ahead of me on the jetway when we were leaving Boston, and she had a guitar on her back. I said, hey, you going to NAMM? She's like, I am going to NAMM. She's like, I'm performing. I'm like, oh, yeah? And where? And she goes, the Hagstrom booth. I said, okay, And so the next, on Thursday, when I was walking around, I happened to see her at the Hagstrom booth. It was like 11:45, and she was sort of like tuning up and warming up. And I said, what time are you going on? And she gave me a look like, noon. Okay, I'll come back at noon, and I'll get some footage. She was like, oh, cool. And I went there, and then I ran into some friends. I caught her first, but she did 2 Aussie songs. And I think she did Ultimate Sin and oh, might have been that one. I can't think of it. You know the one. Right. And she sounded good. She was hitting it pretty much note for note. But some friends of mine showed up that I knew. The guy from Acacia Guitars. And so I was talking to him. And then we sort of went off and whatever. And then she was playing again at 3. So as I was walking by, I said, hey, just so you know, we're getting a big snowstorm. I had already switched my flight, right? So I saw her performance. I think I went back to the hotel. I switched my flight. And then I came back, and now she's playing at like 3. And I happen to be walking. No more tears, thank you. And all I can think of is Maz's tears. And, it's Tiers. And I see her, and I said, just so you know, we're getting a big snowstorm back home, and I was able to switch my flight. She's like, do I know you? And I was like, seriously? She goes, oh, you're the guy from the plane. Yeah. Please, come on. Give me a break. So, I said, are you taking that? Were you supposed to take that 7 a.m. back on Sunday? She goes, the 9:35. I go, yeah, that's definitely canceled because they're canceling my 7. So the later you go, the worse the storm is going to be. There's no way that flight's happening. So if I were you, I would talk to JetBlue and see if you can get that changed. She's like, understood. The next day, Friday, I happen to walk past her again. I go, did you get a chance to change that flight? She's like, no. I said, yeah, well, enjoy LA because you're going to be here for 2 days. There's no way you're going back until Tuesday at the earliest. So when I got back home, you can look up any flight. And so I waited till like midnight, right? Because now I'm on that day. I'm on Sunday. And I looked up flights from LAX to Boston, and every single one was canceled. There wasn't a single flight that wasn't canceled. So she definitely got stuck out there. She definitely got stuck out there for at least 2 days. There's no way you're coming back. And there's no way they opened that airport on Monday. I'm going to say they opened it Tuesday, late Monday at the earliest, but probably more like Tuesday. Yeah, we got about 20 inches. It was because of the storm we had. We were doing 750 miles an hour on the way back. I was able to get my snowblower going and just chug right through it. It was a nice light powdery snow, so it worked out great. So it snowed Sunday, and then Monday I went out about noon and cleared like the whole driveway with the snowblower and got it all going. But then we got like another little round, another like probably 2.5, maybe 3 inches after that. So I was like, I'm not bringing the friggin' snowblower out again. I do like this, and it's got the reverse headstock. Let's go to Sparkle Cam. Looking pretty good. It reminds me of this reminds me of the Partridge Family. Come on now, No, it's a slab top. It's got a back carve, but no top carve. Reminds you of a First Act? Yeah, exactly. When I look at a Gibson Les Paul Custom, it does kind of remind me of a Hondo. Good point. Or a Fesley. Reverse cutaway? Oh, you mean like this coming down like that? I don't know. I've never seen the First Act. Fun fact, though. I had a friend that worked there for a while. But I think the guy that owned it was kind of tough to work for. He wound up leaving there. This was like in the 90s. Do I use presets or make your own? I usually start with a preset and then just sort of tweak it. So I'm sure that this started as a preset. I will say this though. This particular one with the reverb and the delay, I have noticed that in the years since I made this patch, I do notice a lot of, when you get like an update to THU and they give you some more patches, a lot of them follow the same formula with that delay in a slight stereo mode and the reverb. I swear, they're like, you know what? That actually does sound good. Why aren't we doing this? So it does seem like they got the memo that it doesn't hurt to put on a little bit of delay and reverb, or it just feels too dry. There's a time for dry guitars. Usually when you're recording, right? Because you want it to be right up front. But when you're playing like through headphones or just, by yourself, it's just way too dry. Christopher says, new Guitar Day 2024, Gibson ES 335 Pelham Brew. Oh, man, that's nice. That sounds real nice. Where was Magnatone? Was Magnatone at the... were they at the Boutique Amp? I think, are they in with the Boutique Amp distribution group? That would be Friedman, Morgan. That was another person I missed. I'm good friends with Joe Morgan, and I don't think I saw him there. And normally I would see Joe, and he would see me. Would hug it out, man. We were, you know, he's a great guy. I friggin' love Joe Morgan. And but I didn't see him when I went to the Friedman booth. Phil X was playing, you know, and the place was pretty jammed. And then I hung out till it was over, and I was talking to Phil. Phil is touring with Triumph. And so he told me, he said, hey, dude, we're coming through in June. He goes, we're playing Boston. He goes, maybe we should FaceTime in the next couple of weeks. He goes, and then he goes, I'll hook you up with the Triumph. Maybe not the tickets, but backstage or something like that. So that'd be nice. I kept running into Brian Wampler, but not at the Wampler booth. I kept seeing Wampler as he was walking through. You know? Martin says, I have a first deck because the guy selling a JC77 made me take it as package deal. Man, he's just trying to unload it on you, bro. It comes with the first deck that's a PV keyboard amp, sure. So Assad says, that's what I absolutely hated about Tonex. Yeah, because it's like dry oatmeal. No one wants to listen to that, you know. Again, it's different if you have something to run it into, or if you're recording, right? If you're recording, you sometimes you just kind of want it dry, so it's like right up front. You can always add reverb later in post. You can't take reverb away, right? So a good engineer will say, no, we're not adding reverb now. We can add it in post and it'll be fine. But when you're just sitting and noodling on the guitar, you're trying to, you know, play a song or whatever, it's just much better. There's no air, you know. Speaking of air, that's a new thing. I have a video with THU coming out. I stopped at the Overloud THU. It's really Ilio is the U.S. distributor. So I stopped at the Ilio booth. And they showed me the latest version of THU, and they have like, you can change the colors now, I think, and it has a new air feature. It's not a reverb, but it is just, it's built into the cab. And it just sort of takes that front end harshness off a little bit and makes it sound more like an amp, not with reverb on it, but like an amp recorded in a room. It's kind of weird, but it really works. Assad says the new air effects in THU are excellent. Yeah, we checked it. We checked it out when we were there, and you can hear it when he kicks it in. You can absolutely hear it. You know. Oh yeah, hanging with that's awesome. Hanging with Triumph and Phil, it would be. You know, I'll see what happens. He got me backstage at Bon Jovi, which is probably a little tougher to do, but he was able to do it, and I'd love to go. I love Triumph. You know, I'm trying to think. What is it? God, I used to know it. Right? Fight the good fight, right? Fight the good fight every working day. It's like I wind up. It sounds like that 90s song. It's like, I know I'm not playing it right because it doesn't sound like the song. It doesn't sound right. Yeah, air, amp and room. Yeah, right. What's the weirdest thing you saw right now? The Tiki amps. Did you see those Tiki amps? I'm like, but why? Who needs a Polynesian looking amp? I thought the Tiki amps were weird. You know, that was probably the weirdest thing I saw there. I thought the Tiki amps were a little weird. Trying to think if there was anything else. You know, everything else you kind of know. I saw that. Yeah, Third Eye Blind, exactly. Right. Right. Is it Triumph or is it Third Eye Blind? Oh, God. Don't tell a Triumph fan that it sounds like Third Eye Blind. They'll lose their minds. I know that you're still on. Well, I'm Saturday nights, I tend to do this. Tend to. How many times have I missed in the last 5 years? Maybe 3 shows. Maybe 4. The CG amps were stupid, not weird. You remember those from the walkthrough? Little weird. I would say that it is a niche market. I mean, it just reminds me of the line from Jurassic Park, before you wondered whether you could, you should have asked yourself whether you should. You know? Yeah, the CK amps just scream bird cut up. Like, I didn't even think of that. That's right. Because the tubes are exposed. Oh yeah, no, you're onto something there, dude. I didn't even think of that. Right. Yeah, the Tiki amps. I don't know. Listen, someone had a dream, and they put together proof of concept. But then we might say to themselves, does anybody really need this, though? But I guess if you're in a Polynesian band. But, I mean, I think it's a very, very niche market. Yeah, exactly. If you're Hawaiian, maybe. It did feel a little weird. Is it good to have the tubes exposed like that on Tiki amps? Sure. Just don't touch it. Oh, man. Forget, I love the neck on this. It's the same neck as that's on this one. Exactly, when you need the luau sound and nothing else will do. D minor, C. Hold on, I gotta check my tuning here. Oh, you can tune a guitar, but you can't tune a fish. It's actually pretty good. There you go. A little Sharpay, which will make the others sound a little flatte. Again, a little sharp. Good and good. Yeah, that sounds good. Not Greg Brady. It was, wasn't it Peter that had the tarantula? The tiki? All right, and then Greg wears it on the surfing, right? And he wipes out. Yeah, get it off me, please get it off me. Yeah. I just made the world's greatest stamp. Now let's stuff it in a tiki head. Mm-hmm. That's what the boost on. You can hear that boost kick in. Why is there a clamp on the mixing board? That's a tone clamp. Locks the tone in. The Tiki amp did not have a straw top. In fact, one of them had the top off, and you could see the guts. The other one looked like it had like speaker holes, but maybe they were just air holes to let the heat out. I don't really know. Hey, Tony, good to see you. Tony, that last song, what was that called? Oh, jeez. Suitcase? New Street Blues. That's a good one, huh? You seem to really like that one. Up on my Patreon, I had the whatchamacallit there. I posted a new Suno song. I do have one cat kicking around here. Right there. Oh, thank you, Larry. Much appreciated. That's for Temptations for the Cats. Thank you. Tony says, yeah, that was a killer song. It was, yeah, really good. It had a wonderful guitar tone to it. It was really good. I really dug that one. I knew as soon as I heard it, I said, oh, I got to post this one. This is a good one. You know, you don't post all of them because it's a kind of a flood, but I'll be posting more. Stay tuned. Really, the Tiki started at 25,000? They must be Hawaiian. That's, you see, when you remember that they could be from Hawaii, that would be right, because everything in Hawaii is stupid expensive. But that feels unnecessarily expensive. Yeah, I was gonna say that maybe they're putting, maybe they're putting some contraband in there. That would only make it. That's crazy. Yeah, no, the cats sleep a lot. They're pretty bummed out this time of year because it's so cold. Most of them just sort of camp out in front of one of the heaters and count the days until the spring. Cats like to sleep, probably having crazy dreams. I had a crazy dream the other night. And it's probably because I just run into Phil X, but I might have been I don't know the location. I think I was at the NAMM show, or I think I was in the dream. Maybe at like somewhere, like a music store or something. And the guy was telling me I was playing something wrong. I was like, no, I'm not. Well, I'm not playing it wrong. And all of a sudden, probably again because I just saw him, Phil X shows up. I said, well, Phil will know, Phil, and he was so nice, again, in the dream. He was like, oh, yeah, no, I think he's right. I think it's actually like this. And I was like, son of a bitch. And, and of course I tried. I said, well, if Phil says I'm playing it wrong, I'm probably playing it wrong. What I remember about it is that he was letting me down gently. He's like, no, no, I think he's on to something. I was like, oh, okay, all right, great. Yeah, the cats curl up by the radiators. Yeah, we have forced hot air, so they find a spot where they know occasionally the hot air will blow out, and they just sort of park it right there. And every so often the warm air kicks in. You play YouTube-friendly version, so your way is correct. Thank you. Thank you. Though both the guy and Phil X in my dream would say, no. Oh man! So, how's your week going? It's been a little tough this week. It's been a tough week, but between the cold and the ice dam and all that, it's been a little tricky, but that's okay. Yeah, that's what a good teacher does. Yeah. Kind of letting you down easy. Saying, no, you're close, right? You accent the positive. No, you're like 99% of the way there, but I think that it's a little, I think I think he's got something there when he says, "Yeah, no, you shouldn't." I was like, "Oh, okay, no, I believe you." Oh yeah, no, Phil's killing it. You know, he always does that. He does it real fast too, like. He does it like a real. I saw him absolutely tear it up on a couple of those Germany trips. He goes up and does the. He's got a whole set down that he does, you know. Phil is going to turn 60 in March. Yeah, well, both of us. I am 2 days older than Phil. We're born 2 days apart. As you can see, we both look about the same. Dreaming of Tahiti nights, the EVH Wolfgang. There you go. What was it? Probably should do a. Yeah. Yeah, Phil sounded great. Yeah. He does all the hits. Communication Breakdown, you know, Fire. No, Volas sound good. Vola's got a. They're pretty good. It's got a blade in the. See that in the bridge, humbucker. That's perfect from the end. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is like, you know, there's a bunch of different types of tapping. Like one tapping is altered. Right, one. Right, but then there's what he does is he does the. It's kind of like Hot for Teacher. It's a roll up and a roll down. I gotta pull this out. Right, roll up and roll down, and it's just Mixolydian, right? It's a 1 flat 7, 1 3, and then with the 4, and then I forget if he does the 5, and maybe the 2. But the flat 7 and the 1 always stay. He doesn't really move those around, you know. Let me pull that out. You know, something like that. I'd have to listen to it again. What's up, Terry? Is the Tone King Imperial pedal the ultimate pedal platform for recording? I haven't tried one, but they certainly anything Tone King makes tends to be, the amp brand Tone King is a top brand. I'm sure it would be pretty damn good. Yeah, he was showing that on Beato's channel. Yeah, I didn't see that clip, but when the song first came out, I could recognize right away that it was a Cascade, right? It's a roll up, roll down, right? And then it was just a matter of figuring out the notes. So it was a lot of stopping and starting and say, wait a second, okay, he's doing mixo, okay, so it's the open, the flat 7, the 1, right? So it's 1, flat 7, 1, and then the 3. Okay, we'll just figure it out. Any bad food experiences this time around at NAMM? No, pretty good. And I didn't get sick, which was huge. The key to not getting sick at NAMM, wash your hands a lot. Try to avoid touching your face. That goes a long way. I think that one time I was sick out at NAMM, it wasn't food poisoning like I thought. Food poisoning, I hadn't really eaten that day. Food poisoning doesn't happen that fast. I think it was a stomach virus. I think I had the norovirus, right? That, basically your upset stomach, you're vomiting, diarrhea, just awful for about 24 hours. That was easily my worst NAMM. I was pretty much bedridden for a whole day. Missed the whole day. It was the worst. Yeah, the damn horse. Believe it or not, when I go to places, I put my hand like in my sleeve and I open door handles. Especially if I'm going to like a place I'm going to eat like finger foods, like French fries or anything like that. I'll put my hand inside my sleeve and I'll open the door in with my sleeve and not touch it with my hands. It might be slightly paranoid, but you know what? I don't get sick. And, it's a little prevention, an ounce of prevention, right? As they say, you really worth a pound of cure. Exactly. The doctor said I wouldn't have so many nosebleeds if I could just keep my fingers out of there, right? Who is that? That's Ralph, right? Ralph Wiggum. Hand sanitizer works for you. The only thing I worry about hand sanitizer, I feel like if I use it too much, my hand will start to crack from the alcohol. It does feel like a little, like a little too much of it is not good for your hands long term. But I'm only there for a weekend, so and I did use a little hand sanitizer while I was out there. In the hospital for a week at the beginning of the month, $80,000. Oh my God. I was like, for this food? Yeah. Exactly. Just have your wife open the door. It would even be worse. You want to invent things called handoms, but then you realize they were just gloves. Yeah. Sure. Got a new guitar for Guitar of the Week. Shot the video today. It'll be out on Monday. Should be good. I understand you only use the hand sanitizer at restaurants. Have sensitive hands too. Yeah. Yeah, just, if you used sparingly, yeah, exactly. It's fine. had button sticks for some people were selling for COVID to push the elevator door buttons. Well, I will push the elevator with my finger inside my sleeve. I won't, or I'll hit it with my elbow, because I don't want to. That's where germs live. Again, as you get older, you say, you know, I'm probably, yeah, it would be a lot healthier if I just, and I don't get sick a lot, but you know, if I just took a little bit more care and not trying to, you know, not trying to make myself too sick if I can avoid it. Kind of have that in my head now. Steve, it's great to see you again at NAMM. Oh, thank you. I did run into a lot of people. And again, I was only there 2 days. Imagine if I was there for all 3. I mean, what are the chances we'll have a snowstorm next year? We have been locked in. This has been a pretty damn cold winter. We have been locked into the cold. You know, it started at the beginning of December. We were way below normal. And we try to warm up a little bit, and then we're right back into the cold again. We are in we're not above freezing in the 10-day forecast. You know, they're saying maybe 34 on, you know, which would be 2 degrees above, right? Freezing in Fahrenheit is 32. We might hit 33, 34 on Monday or Tuesday. We'll see. Who knows? It's been freaking cold. Like I said, so cold. I got a little ice dam going, and I don't want to blame my wife, but I blame my wife. She was running a lot of bleach loads with the hot water, and the exhaust pipe going up through the roof is metal. And I think that got so warm, it melted it, but it's so cold out, it quickly turned into ice. And as you know, that creates a gap. You get a little ice dam. And I think that was it. I think it was because it was coming from that pipe. It was coming from the vent pipe. So the vent pipe, I think, was putting out just enough heat, just enough steam from those bleach loads, which is it's a hot water wash. I think that was enough. So I said, will you stop doing laundry? And she's like, okay. I said, I mean, like, literally, I have like 5 friggin' pans in here collecting all the drips from the ceiling. And this morning when I went in there was nothing. I was like, oh, thank God. Because, you know, the longer that goes, the more it's just damaged. So right now I think I can pretty much sand it and maybe do a tiny bit of touch-up and then just paint it and it should be back to normal. But you keep going and that paint is going to start to flake off in a major way, right? It cannot take that amount of water for a very long period of time. Fella said, terrible winter. I have put some pounds on instead of winter workouts. Yeah, I tell you, it's been cold. This has been one of our colder winters, without a doubt. Like I said, when my furnace went out, we had the new furnace put in. You know, the 2 weeks leading up to it. Oh, we finally got our electric bill for that period. It was like $600 friggin' dollars because we're running all, you know, space heaters during that time. Should be a lot less now that we have a regular furnace. But yeah, no, got a little kooky. I didn't have any NAMM picks. I was looking for NAMM picks, and it looks to me like I took like just a whole bunch of video. You know. And I've got to I just got to dump Yeah, I hate this. This happens. I shoot some footage out at NAMM, and then when I get home, my phone uploads it to Google Photos, and they're like, "You're almost out of space." And I'm like, "Well, what are the top 3 things?" And it's all NAMM videos. And I just freed up like 30 gigs of space by deleting 3 videos. Yeah, now I'm back down to 65 gigs. Let me go to photos here. Yeah, not really. No. Those are screenshots. This is what our windows look like. Just covered in frost. It's crazy. And then this was during the first snowstorm. Not too bad. Not really over the wheels. So it's not too bad. But that was earlier. It finally got. It was a lot deeper by the time I went out there. That's at like 10. What is it? 9:30. 9:30 p.m. Yeah, not a lot. Oh, yeah. And this is what it looked like from the plane on the way home. We already kind of had, this is when we were getting into my area. We already had snow on the ground. This just added on top of it. So, pretty crazy. Yeah, this is that, that was that dude. The Van Halen. He sounded really good. We were talking about him earlier. He sounded really freaking good. Had it down. And then me and Sammy. Me and Phil. Me and Guitar Max. Oh, yeah. That's pretty good. And, of course, Adam Neely. It's super nice. It was very, very, these guys are, I've just known these guys for so long. It's funny because here's Jared James Nichols and Victor Wooten. And I was looking on my phone and I was like, I think I exchanged numbers with Jared James Nichols. I did. He's in my contacts. And then, there I was at the, but you've seen this if you're on Insta. I was at the Gibson booth. And there's Jared and Victor. They're doing a little jam. I'm way in the back. There's a fuller shot of me at that. The Gibson, they didn't have a room, but they did have a bunch of guitars out on display. Oh, Jesus. How do I delete this? That's what the NAMM show sounds like when you're there. Let me just delete this. Yeah, that's like 3 friggin' gigs. Oh, and there's Garrett Peters. He's a phenom if you've never heard Garrett play. He's awesome. But like you said, he goes, yeah, I kind of disappeared off of social media. So it was just great to see him and hook up again. I hadn't seen him in so long. Me and Kafir. And then I think me and Rob Chapman. God, I've known Rob. We went out to dinner in like 2015. It was Rabia Massad's birthday. So friggin' long ago. I've just known these guys forever. Me and Lee. Anybody else? Oh, yeah. Me and Rabia. Me and Fluff. I've known Fluff like since 2010. Like forever. Me and Paul Davids. He's the nicest guy. So I did see a lot of people. This was a new Ned Steinberger. I got an email, which I think was an automated bot. He's like, hey, Steve, it's Ned Steinberger. I have a guitar there I want you to check out. I'm like, is this really Ned Steinberger? He's like, yeah. He's like, check it out. He gave me the booth. I went over and checked it out. But when I went back to go play it, I was there early in the morning. It had been put away, and I never really made it back. But this was Ned's. If you remember Steinberger and Ned Steinberger, that's Ned's new guitar with the EMGs and all that. All right. I can hear them moving around upstairs. They probably want me to call it a night. Oh, yeah. Wrong one. Me and Jamie Slays. Me and Alex Skolnick. Now, Alex, I don't know, but I did pester him for a photo. That's Joey Z. He's a phenom. And do I have any more? Yeah, and with Ola, who doesn't really know me either. Unlike all those other guys who I've known for years. But he's always nice. He's always super nice. So this was my view most of the time. Staring at a cold water going, damn, I'm dying over here. I'm dying here. And anything else? No, that's about it. That was about it. So I did have some NAMM pics. Those are all of them. Mainly selfies. All right, dudes, it is 9:07. We are way behind, and I got to go. Or they're going to be getting upset at me up there. All right, you guys have a wonderful week. Check out Monday's Guitar of the Week. I had a lot of fun getting that going today. And back in the saddle again, you know. And check that out on Monday. And I will see you all in a week. Super extra special thanks to anyone who contributed. I always appreciate that. And, of course, bro fist to the Mod Squad. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great week. Have a great night. And I will see you next week. Later.